fellas, it's good to see you. It's shown up. It's good to see you. Those of you out there listening, it's good to see you too. Although I can't see you, I ain't gonna lie to you, fellas. I don't know if we'd be doing this again. I don't know if that annoying fan would be in the background again while we're doing this. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I didn't know if our little late night powwows about the Chiefs was going to continue. But it is. We're back. Shout out.
It's a little hairy there for a few weeks.
Yeah, a little hairy. Yeah, I was ready to move on.
Ron, this is my first time getting fired, man. Yeah. This is a new experience.
Not mine.
This is the first time I've ever been unemployed, really. So it's a new experience for me.
Foolish Club came to save the day. Shout out to Foolish Club Media, our new home for show and BK. Good thing we had control of our name. That would have been a real issue if we had to if we had to come back as Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And we couldn't be Razor Ramon and Diesel. But no, we got control of our names. There we go. So we're back. We're back. Find us, subscribe, do all that good stuff that Serda's trying to make you do. Listen, our first day at Serda, we've got to establish this. You've got to stop doing stuff like we're in our 20s. That drinking of the pancake batter, come on, man. Like
Rocky and Kramer encouraged that. I didn't want to do it, but I was also just committing to the bit a little bit. I don't like that either. I wasn't a fan of it, but that honestly, it wasn't that bad.
What did you say? It was 6 years?
Yeah, I mean that pancake batter's easily been in my cabinet for like 6 years.
What are you doing? Like, we've got to stop this. Like,
I think it's been through two moves with me because I think it just goes in the dry goods box and then gets put back up in the cabinet in the back, and I forget about it every time.
That's ridiculous. And secondly, you're in your mid-30s. Like, it's over. Like, you got to stop.
Not quite midway.
You're in your mid-30s. You got to stop this. We got to stop this stuff. I turned 40 in a couple of days. So like we've got to stop this stuff. Like, there was a time when you would eat duck eggs on air. Yeah. Like rotten duck eggs. Like we're past that, man. We're past that.
It wasn't rotten. It was like an aged duck egg that Julio bought at the Asian market.
Yeah, I don't have to do content in wrestling singlets. We're past.
Although that might get our subscribers up, might be worth a shot here.
I think that's actually a good idea. If you leave us a 5-star review and some suggestions, we'll figure some things out to do on the next pod.
Oh, I'm not agreeing to that. No, I'm not agreeing to that. No, but man, it's I'm glad we're back. I'm glad we're here. Let's check in. As the draft just happened, and we were all over the place on Foolish Club Media, all over the place with the draft, holding it down. Everybody did a great job with that. But listen, I could feel Serda just feeling himself, seeing wide receiver being taken. Nobody, and I mean nobody, loves wide receivers like Steve Serda. I mean, I don't care. Like, Steve Serda finally gave it up on guys like who's my man that couldn't stop smoking, that had a great year with the Browns and then just couldn't.
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon. He would not quit Josh Gordon. He would not give up on folks like Josh Gordon.
I was still holding out hope for Will Fuller.
Yes.
Year. Nobody loves Bryant until he got suspended indefinitely, and then his career was just over.
Like, you don't Steve holds out for guys you can't trust. And and I know when you saw Xavier Worthy up there, you shot out of a cannon. And you're not alone. Everybody is crushing Buffalo. And I know people don't want to hear this. Like, I don't think Buffalo did a bad job. I mean, like, you got to start believing and trusting in yourself before you start thinking, oh, I don't want to trade something to the Chiefs. Like, okay, but anyway, that's a side note. Like, for me, I can see the excitement, fellas, of Xavier Worthy. I could see what it could be. I could. But I mean, forgive me if I'm pumping the brakes a little bit. Like it feels like people just think that cat's gonna work. And I don't mean not just Chiefs fans. I mean, people, oh God, look how much speed he's got. Now they just give them the fastest guy. They just give him. Like, forgive me, man. The Chiefs clearly have a type. They've got a couple of guys. They've been trying to get guys and draft guys and bring in guys that are like this. The really, really fast guy that's kind of light. The fast guy that can open up downfield, that adds speed. The Kadarius Toney type, the McCole Hardman type, the MVS type. Like they've tried these. They gave Richie James a whirl. Like, I don't know if Sky Moore fits this, but he ain't this fast. But I mean, they just keep bringing in these kind of smaller size guys, trying to find the Tyreek Hill thing again, and they just don't. They haven't been successful. I hope Xavier Worthy is the guy that finally brings some of that back out. But like, I'm not just automatically thinking that, oh, look, the Chiefs got this speed, they're back, it's going to work again, because they've been trying to rekindle this and been bringing in guys like this, and it's never quite worked out like we thought it would. So I'm hoping, but forgive me if I'm not just through the roof like so many people have been.
Is it just because of the guys that they've tried this with in the past that have failed? Like, is that the full reason? And you're talking specifically about like basically McCole Hardman, DeAnthony Thomas, and
I won't go that far back. I won't go. Yeah, you know what? Add DeAnthony Thomas into it. I'm just talking guys post Tyreek. They've tried to rekindle the speed guys, the Kadarius Toneys, the McCole Hardman. Like we've said it repeated, like Richie James. We've said it repeatedly. They keep bringing in these same size redundant players, and this is like the fourth or fifth one.
Yeah, get out of here with your Richie James. Get out of here with
that. Well, I'm just saying they did. The slight guy with speed that's a returner that can be a gadget player. That you think can open up downfield. They keep bringing in these guys, and we all get excited when they bring them in and think, "Oh, here it comes, it's back," and then never. Like a little bit. I'm sorry. Some of it is Kadarius Toney against that Jacksonville game had me. Had me hook, line, and sinker. And I can remember McCole had me a couple of times. I can remember a Baltimore game where he went crazy. Like they've had me. But like, forgive me if I'm a wait and see mode. I'm not excited yet. I won't wait.
So imagine McCole Hardman, who's like actually knows how to play wide receiver. That's what Xavier Worthy is. And the reason why I think it's just wildly unfair that he's being compared to so many of these other late breakout, light, pure speed wide receivers is because Xavier Worthy was actually good in college. And not just his junior year. Ron, in his freshman season at Texas, he had 980 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns through the air. McCole Hardman in his collegiate career had 960 yards and 11 touchdowns through the air.
A lot of talent there at Georgia.
Xavier Worthy in his freshman season was more productive than McCole Hardman in his entire collegiate career. It's no contest, dude. These other receivers that he gets compared to, John Ross, 500 yards total his first 3 years in college. Then boom, breakout season as a senior. You see Henry Ruggs had 200 yards as a freshman, had 700 yards each of his final 2 seasons in college, 24 total touchdowns. Xavier Worthy, 26 total touchdowns. Like, the guys that are getting compared to him just were not as productive. If you want to look at a guy that was as productive early on, although at a lower level, you got to look at like T.Y. Hilton. That's the type of comparison that you're looking at for Xavier Worthy in terms of early breakout as a college player. Xavier Worthy is not a gadget player. Xavier Worthy is a wide receiver who happens to be unbelievably fast. And he fits the exact role that the Chiefs are looking for. The guy that has been compared to him, and we'll see if he can reach these heights. I think this is like the ceiling of what Xavier Worthy can be, but at least there is this ceiling. It's Deshaun Jackson. Like, that's the role that the Chiefs will hope that he can fill in the Chiefs offense. Xavier Worthy is not going to be Tyreek Hill. Nobody is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is like 5'10" and 200 and some odd pounds.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy is 160 pounds. He's going to play the McCole Hardman role, but he's going to be much better in that role. He actually knows how to catch. He knows how to track the football. Like, he's got a lot of value to this offense.
How many times last season did we make fun of MVS and like his inability to go up and get a football? Like, week after week, we just saw him just no body control, no nothing. If he's got to go up and get it, it's just not going to be a catch. Or McCole Hardman just giving up on a route or dropping an easy pass or something like that. Like, I think the expectation for Xavier Worthy is obviously going to be way too high, but that's just the standard for the Chiefs now. Like everything that they do and everyone that they bring in, like the standard is so high already that the expectations are they're going to get the absolute best out of all these guys. And then if they don't work out, the fan base is particularly hard on them, like a Kadarius Toney, like Mecole Hardman, even though like Mecole's had some redemptive moments during his time with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I just think that Worthy is already like kind of what BK was saying. Like he's already a more impressive player than either of those guys were. And he's already a player that like when you go check him out and dive into him, you can see his ability downfield. Now, I have questions about what he's going to do when he gets pressed at the line of scrimmage in the NFL. But the great thing about the Kansas City Chiefs and their offense is that they don't need the whole offense to run through Xavier Worthy. Like they're going to try to put him in situations to make him succeed the way they did with Rashee Rice last season. Like they were like, yeah, we don't really want Rashee Rice running a full route tree. We don't trust him on the deep downfield routes. But what he can do is line up in the slot and he can run these crossers and he can do all this quick game stuff because he's hard to bring down and he's good at breaking tackles. So they put him in the best situation to win. And I'm fully confident that they're going to do that with Xavier Worthy, and they're going to lean into Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, depending on what his suspension looks like. That's probably going to come down from the NFL at some point. Like they've got other weapons and guys that they can lean on. And then Mahomes is always going to make plays. So they don't need Worthy to be this guy who's going to step in and be this incredible playmaker from day one. They can bring him along slow like they typically do with their rookie weapons.
No, I listen. I see what it could be. I'm just saying these are the same to me. Now y'all feel and go with the way you see it. These are the same conversations I feel like we've had about these other guys that we're talking about. Like until we put the pressure of Kadarius Toney is going to be wide receiver 1 coming into last year, it was still just like, hey man, we just need him to kind of open up things a bit. Like it's not like he's got to carry the offense. Right. It was the same thing with Mecole. We like, hey, just go out there and be a downfield threat and all this and that. There was no thought of like, we need the thing to run through you. And I'm just saying, at the time when they drafted Mecole Hardman, I know it was weird. It was during the Tyreek stuff, but I felt damn good about it. I felt damn good about like he was going to be productive in that role as a speed guy when they brought in Kadarius Toney. And when he did tease the hell out of us, I thought, yes, he's going to be able to do some things. You know, MVS, can you at least, is he going to be able to stretch the defense? None of those guys, and I don't want to just say, no, they've been failures. None of them have worked.
Yeah.
And especially
I don't want to revisit my opinions on Sky Moore before the season started.
You think Mecole was just a total failure? Because I would actually push back on that. Like, I think his rookie year was a success. His rookie year, he was targeted 45 times and had 540 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think he was a successful pick given where he was at. Now, the alternative was DK Metcalf, and that doesn't make it look great. But I would say a second-round wide receiver who had 500, 500, and 700 yards in his first 3 seasons, that part of his career, I think, was a success, honestly.
I'm just saying, I think in terms of a failure in terms of just being a downfield threat and opening up the field. To me, it just wasn't enough, right? It's to a point where his final 2 or 3 seasons with the team, including the trade one, they just really didn't even use him that much. Like that long catch he caught in the Super Bowl was more of a shock than it was this is what they do. Like he became a reverse ball carrier type of a player as opposed to being down the field. To you brought up a player earlier, like a Will Fuller. Like that's, I think to me is the expectation. He didn't run through him. The offense didn't run through Will Fuller, but he was a down the field threat and made down the field plays. I just don't like they've tried to me, it seemed like bring that type of player in, and Worthy has all the tools to do that, just like those other guys did. Has all the tools, and I will even get with you. He seems to be more prepared right now to do that. I'm just like, for me, I've watched it and I've gotten myself excited about basically, I've got myself excited about, like, hey, man, the fireworks is about to come back. We're going to see the downfield big plays. They can score at any single moment on the field. And they've tried to bring in these type dudes, and that hadn't been happening since Tyreek was here. And they've tried to get those type of guys. And I hope Worthy is that cat. I'm just gonna wait a little bit and see if he's actually, able to supply that downfield threat.
So I think he's going to be able to do that. I think that the place where maybe we have a disconnect on is I don't think he's going to be able to do what Tyreek did. And I don't think he should be expected to do that. And I don't think anybody ever will. And so, like, the fireworks you're talking about, the Chiefs' fireworks offense of the Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce prime era, guys, I think that's just going to be remembered the way that the Randy Moss era was in New England. Like, it was an era. It was a time and place. It was fun as hell to watch. And now it's over. And they're going to have to, they have to find what the next version of the Chiefs' offense is going to look like. And I think this option can be really good. I don't think it's going to be what that one was, but I think it's going to look easier this year. Like last year, Ron, dude, I really hated watching that team play football for the vast majority of the season because it was miserable to watch offensively. Defensively, they were amazing, but offensively, it was like watching paint dry at times. I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I think what's going to be different is that you have multiple guys that do stress the defense vertically. Now you've got Marquise Brown, who's going to stress teams vertically, and he does the deep over routes that we used to see all the time with Tyreek Hill. He's got that ability. You've got Xavier Worthy. He's going to push you deep. Serda said there are some concerns about what it's going to look like when he's pressed. Here's the problem. Do you trust your corner to press against him? Because if it doesn't work, good luck. Like now you've got a 60-yard touchdown going in the other direction. So I don't think he's going to see a lot of press coverage this year. So I think it's going to feel a lot different, although it's not going to be what it was with Tyreek. Like I think it's going to be somewhere in between. It's probably going to feel kind of like a more explosive version of the offense with Juju. When that offense was really flowing and it felt like things were operating pretty well, I think it's going to be a more explosive version of that.
Damn it, sir, I'm tired of that. I can't listen, I know they've won Super Bowls the last 2 years. I'm over that. Like I look at that. See, that's what I'm hopeful for. What they have done. I am hopeful for the fireworks show to be back. Like and we've talked about it. When I look at the pieces and parts of this team, when you talk about Hollywood Brown, then you talk about Xavier Worthy, and you talk about, I don't know where Kadarius Toney figures or some of these other guys figure, but you're talking about Travis, and now he should have a lot more space with those guys, as you've been talking about, that can stress the defense vertically and move the defense away from the middle of the field where Travis operates. And then Rashee Rice is a big play. Like there should be a lot of chunk plays for this offense. And it's like I look on paper, I see about 2-3 guys that can make a house call when they touch it. And I don't necessarily know they've had that. And damn it, I'm about over the slow methodical. I would like
2 years ago they led the league in scoring.
Yeah,
like the Juju offense was number 1 in the league in scoring.
I know they led in scoring.
It was really efficient, but it wasn't like explosive.
There was no explosive. You
That's
get
what
out
I'm
of
saying,
here.
Though. I think they could be similar in terms of efficiency as what they were 2 years ago, but with more explosive plays.
I want the club in the bag.
I'm with you. I want the Chiefs that can go hang 50 when they feel like it. Like when they actually
play drives.
When they feel like showing up for a big game and they want to go drop 50. Like I want that.
You mean like when they scored 44 against San Francisco 2 years ago? Like they had that club in their bag. They scored 41 against Tampa. They had it. It just didn't come out all that often.
No. Those were another slow me down efficient
44 against Arizona week 1.
Yes, it was slow me down efficient.
But and those were like they had 8 drives and scored on 7 of them or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Hey man, that works. That's where that's who this team is now. Once you lose Tyreek Hill, you cease to be the pew 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 explosives thing that Jonathan Gannon does with the Arizona Cardinals. That no longer exists, bro.
But Serda, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, especially everything you'd have just told me, Xavier Worthy, those are pew pew pewers. Those are pew 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 pewers. Those guys are that. Like, come on, man. I mean, Lord, I know Travis May has lost a step, but shoot, give him some. We just watched him. I just saw him in the Super Bowl run as fast as he's ever run in his career in the fourth quarter of that play. However, 19 miles an hour. I'm sick of this. I just like, it's not a club in the bag if you do it twice. Okay. Like, I want the threat of, you know what? We can have a 2-play 73-yard drive. Like, I mean, they just I mean, I know I'm complaining about Super Bowls and an efficient offense 2 years ago. I get that. We got the best quarterback and the best play caller of all time, arguably, on this team in their primes. And I feel like Pat's forgotten how to throw a deep ball because they just don't. And like,
he had a lot of deep balls that got dropped last season too.
Like, he had some deep balls that got dropped, but I'm just saying, the last 3 years, there have been some misses on the deep ball because I just don't think he doesn't throw it anymore. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Obviously, I want to see it. And I totally agree. I think there's a happy middle here where, like, I am interested to see how this plays out when they actually have the ability to challenge teams deep, and teams have to respect that again because they did not respect it at all last year. So they were like, oh, okay, what we got to do is 15, 18 play drives because that's the only way we can move the football. And I think with the pieces that they have this season, and if Rashee Rice comes back from suspension and winds up, taking a step and whatever, like, they've got enough talent now that I think we could see more 5-6 play drives. Maybe it's not 2-3 play drives, but maybe it's 5-6-7 play drives instead of 15 play drives. Like, I'm fine with that too. And Mahomes being smarter and being more cerebral in the way that he plays. Like, I think all of that is going to lend towards them still being an incredibly potent offense.
Listen, I mean, listen, if they're number one offense like they were 2 years ago, I mean, I'm not going to be pissed. I'm just simply saying they appear to have knockout punch parts now. Yeah. Juju Smith-Schuster's not a knockout punch. He's a 15-rounder. Like, we're going all the way to the end with Juju. Sure. Like, and does nothing to help Travis with his speed in the middle of the field. And then you just had a bunch of other guys that fit this speed stuff that, frankly, they just stopped trusting, and they just stopped even running them down the field like that. Then you had Sky Moore, who is also a 12-rounder unless he gets disqualified. Like, now it seems like they have chunk play dudes. Like, it looked like this offense with the best quarterback and best play designer with that tight end. It feels like 20-yard plays should come in abundance.
How many plays of 30-plus yards do you think Marquise Brown was a part of over the past 2 seasons?
Oh, God.
Not many, because he was never on the same page.
I'd say 2 seasons. I'd say
4. Tops.
25.
3. I like Marquise Brown a lot. I think Xavier Worthy has a lot of Marquise Brown in him. I think there's a reason why the Chiefs wanted Marquise Brown and they wanted Xavier Worthy to have that role moving forward. I think he's going to be a really good player. I think if he has similar numbers to what Marquise has been in his career, you're looking at like 700 to 1,000 yards, a legit number 2 wide receiver long-term for a good NFL team. If that ends up being the case, I think it's a success. And I think they go about it pretty similarly. I think you're going to see a lot, Ron, of like 15 to 20-yard plays, chunk plays, quote unquote, for those guys. But it will, unfortunately, much to the chagrin of Ron the Show Hughley, it will be more efficiency than it will pew, pew, pew explosives that are going left and right for the Chiefs offense this upcoming season. I think the threat of them going deep is every bit as important as the actual reality of them having 40, 20-yard plays to Xavier Worthy next year.
And to me, if they're getting these 15 to 20-yard plays, my expectation with some of these guys, especially the 2 new receiver additions and Rashee Rice, with the spacing that the speed is going to have on the field, a 15-yard play should many times turn into a 40 to 50-yard play, because with Brown and Worthy in particular, one miss should and could result in house calls.
Sure.
In a way where one miss on Sky Moore is going to be another 11 yards. Right. Which should be a difference. So I think the return of the Patrick Mahomes luxury of, hey, I threw an easy 10-yard pass that became 35 that he hasn't had the luxury of the last couple of years, I think can happen. So, I'm getting excited. I'm getting amped. I'm looking at Xavier Worthy, and I'm like, can you give me some downfield stuff? Can you give me some stuff? Who's the kid from Baltimore they drafted last year?
Zay Flowers.
Can you give me a little Zay Flowers action?
I think he can do that for you.
Give me a little something. Can we give me them and Brown? Give me a little something action. Give me some of that nasty. That's what I'm looking for. Hey, I will say this. I'm hoping for the fireworks show to come back, and I think they have the parts, and I'm hoping we can see that. But I got to tell you, before you get to the fireworks show, I don't know where you all are. I'm a bit concerned about this left tackle situation. I understand it is just May, and we got time, and we've got training camp, and there's still maybe some veteran options out there. And I understand they drafted the Kingsley guy. I don't have his last name. What's his name? What's it? Come on, somebody's got it.
So Matia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's how they
Matia
pronounced it.
Kingsley. So Matia.
Yeah.
So Matia. Like, listen, I am intrigued by that pick and what that can be in the future, and I like it. Hey, get up there and go get a tackle in the second round. You feel good about him. Maybe in a year he is a guy that could be ready to go. Maybe mid-season he's a guy that's ready to go. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't feel tremendous right now or tremendous early on right now because I'm looking at the depth chart and Wanye Morris is sitting right there at that start left tackle spot. And listen, I know they've been able to win. They pulled the thing out with Donovan Smith and Wanye getting a couple of starts. I'm hoping they can have better options than that this year. And I'm going to obviously be patient and see what it is they do. But I don't know about you two. I'm not real comfortable with the left tackle, which is supposed to be one of the 5 most important positions normally on the field. I am, especially when you have the quarterback that you have. I am not real comfortable. I just keep seeing that Raiders game in my head. I'm not real comfortable about that left tackle position. I'll be honest with you. I'm not real comfortable about the right tackle position, but I understand there's nothing we can do about that. But the left tackle position, I would like to see what the plan is for this year.
So let's start with this. Ron, was there a better option available? If we're just being totally honest, I don't think there was a scenario this offseason where we were going to feel good about the left tackle situation, barring them trading up to like the top 10 picks in this year's class. And that was never going to happen. So they were always stuck in this really tough scenario of like, we're going to have to piece this thing together. And hopefully we get a high upside tackle that we end up being right. We took a gamble and we hit a Yahtzee with it, right? That was their one real option to be able to get a good left tackle this year. And I think they gave themselves the best chance to do so, given what they had capital-wise in this year's draft. Sua Matia, it seems like people were really high on him going into the draft. They would have been okay with him at 32 if that's where they ended up having to go, and they get him in the second round. Now, my guess, the plan is, let's see what this guy looks like. Let's bring him in. We'll get him into mini camp. We'll see what it looks like with him as our starter at left tackle. And if he looks great, awesome. Don't even have to call anybody else that's potentially out there right now via free agency. We're just going to run with it. And we'll have him. We'll have Wanye. See who wins that job. If it looks bad, we'll just call Donovan Smith, who was our starting left tackle last year, and we won the Super Bowl with him. Or we'll call Charles Leno and see, hey, how's your hip feeling? You good? You okay? Everything going well over there? Cool. Go ahead and come on over. We'll have you as our starting left tackle this year. The positive for the Chiefs is that they still have options. There are 2 legitimate starting left tackles that are still out there in free agency. And if they got to call one or the other, Charles Leno and Donovan Smith. Those are your two options via free agency that are out there.
Where's David Bakhtiari? Where the hell did he go?
His legs have blown up. He's not playing again.
I think he's still out there, but
he's technically available.
I would not trust that.
I'd have felt comfortable about George Fant. Can we get a run at George Fant coming in? I'd have felt comfortable about that. Listen, as you said, there are options. I don't want to see Donovan Smith. There's nothing about Don Smith that does it for me. I felt like he got away with so many holds, and there is some real concerns about him for me. I hope like right now, if you were to guess at this moment, is the starting left tackle here? For week one, when they host
Kingsley,
when they host Thursday Night Football against the Houston Texans, do you think the starting left tackle is here?
I think their Super Bowl left tackle is currently here. I think their week one tackle is Donovan Smith. I think they will do something similar to what they did last year, where Wanye ended up getting the opportunity after it was technically an injury that happened for Donovan Smith, but Wanye got the opportunity, earned it, and then as his play started to diminish, they decided to go back to Donovan Smith. But I think you'll see something similar. They'll take him on slowly. We've seen this with them at basically every position on the offensive side of the ball. They try to bring these rookies along slowly. I think the same thing will be true with Kingsley this year. That would be my guess.
And yeah, and what BK mentioned about, where they took him and what they have to do at that tackle position at this point, because when you're the Chiefs, you're just simply never going to get into the top 10 without dramatically overpaying to go get a guy that, that guy is a locked in starter for a decade and you don't got to worry about it. And there's
Kingsley could be that.
And there's a lot of other teams that have had success doing stuff like that. The Baltimore Ravens are really good at identifying offensive linemen and defensive linemen in the outside of the first round. They've been doing it for years to lots of success, and they're really good at it. So, and the Chiefs have done that a little bit too, not at the left tackle position, but they've had some success with that with the offensive line. And so it's really just about trusting their development. And if Kingsley's really got this dramatic upside, and I was talking to some of the guys at AP who had done a lot of homework on him because he was one of their favorite prospects. And, I thought they mentioned, they brought up a good point in saying he's only 21 years old. He could have gone back to BYU for another year if he wanted to. And they all seemed really confident that if Kingsley would have gone back to BYU, he would have been talked about, assuming he didn't get injured or something and had a good season. He would have been talked about in next year's draft as this guy's a premium tackle that should go in the first round without question. Because he's got that kind of upside and potential. And so it just comes down to how they develop him. And so long term, I think he's got more upside than Wanye does. But Wanye, in a really small sample size, showed some promise. And so I'm willing to bet on Andy Reid and Andy Heck and that coaching staff and just trying to figure this out and get the best out of him. But long term, I hope Kingsley is their starting guy that they can lean on.
Yeah, if it's Donnie Smith as the option, I'd rather go with Wanye and Kingsley to start it off. I would, because I think those two, especially Wanye, it could be just as effective as Don to start this thing. By the way, do we not take mission trips anymore? He's 21 coming into the league. They stopped taking mission trips. They would have kids there that was 26 when they would come out. I thought we were still. I didn't know we were not doing mission.
He went to Oregon out of high school. He's Sewell's cousin, and immediately went to Oregon and got homesick and had to go back to Utah. So that was his story.
Maybe some other reasons why he had to come out. Maybe he was drinking coffee or something. That could.
By the way, don't sleep on Charles Leno. If Charles Leno is healthy,
I'm in the bed, got the covers over me, and I've not set an alarm. I'm asleep, snoring.
He was in Chicago, with Matt Nagy, so he knows the offense. And he's a perfectly adequate starter. I think he's better than Donovan Smith. Now, he had a hip issue, and that's not what you want to hear for a starting left tackle. But if they find out that he's healthy, that would be my first call over Donovan Smith. I think he's a decent upgrade over what you have with Donovan Smith.
Yeah, those two have had to have gone to hell in a handbasket. But you can't tell me, you can't come out to me with the sales pitch of, he was with Matt Nagy in Chicago and he knows the offense. Like that went well. And then follow it up by, well, you know, a little con there, just a smidge. They're tough hip from old Chuck Leno. So let's like I those two options. You're right. I would have. Clearly they just weren't going to be aggressive like Tyron Smith or something right off the bat to go and maybe fill that void early. I can go with this approach, and I will give it. They've earned it. They've earned a level of trust with this thing. I'm just saying, it's not a code red for me right now. I'm just concerned, and I guess the thing that does give me, some confidence is I do think by week 10, if Wanye or Kingsley are getting these reps, that they'll be in a space good enough to be able to not be an issue, to not be a problem. So
that I think, by the way, is one of the reasons why they didn't end up going after Tyron Smith. I think they felt like they needed more certainty at the position if they didn't trust whoever they brought in as a rookie. And listen, I'm bringing up Charles Leno, who has a hip issue right now, so that's not exactly helping my argument. But I think their alternative is probably going to be Donovan Smith, and they know Donovan Smith will at least be available for the first 10 weeks of the season. You can't count on Tyron Smith past week 1. You have no idea if he's going to make it through a couple of weeks of football.
And I would still I am all aboard. Roll with the young guys and see what you got in them, because they're more valuable. They're guys you can build around. And that's the point of drafting these upside players that you're trying to develop. Like, I am all about them focusing on that, but I still think they should bring in a veteran tackle, because the depth isn't great. Like, you don't feel particularly great if Jawan Taylor goes down or one of those guys goes down, and then you're down to, if Kingsley's the starter and then it's Wanye and then you've got Lucas Niang is your best backup tackle. I don't feel good.
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's got one more year. And so I think they should still sign another tackle. I think they still need more depth at the position.
And if we've learned one thing, it's that Brett Veach will invest in this offensive line. He's going to go out there and make sure you have at least 9 dudes who, if they have to go onto the field, they feel pretty comfortable with it. So I do agree with Serda. I think they're going to probably end up signing somebody else. I think they want to get Kingsley the reps in mini camp, and then around the start of training camp, you'll see one of those signings.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I hear you. Let the young guys, try to fight it out. It's just a tough position to just say, hey, man, just let the young guys fight it out. The blind side to Patrick Mahomes. That's the only thing. But we'll see. We got, like I said, there's a lot of time to figure that out. I am intrigued, fellas, by the give-a-rip factor of the regular season for the Chiefs this year. Because their path to a 1 seed should be really right there. Even though they have a first place schedule and they got tough games. But when you first look at, all right, your division first, all right, you got those 6 games against those opponents. We quickly went from the AFC West to maybe historically being the greatest division we've ever seen, which never came to fruition, to can the Chiefs win all 6 of the games against their division opponents with their C game? Can they? I think they can come in with a C. I think they can turn the ball over 5 times against Denver like they did last year and win by 10. This division is the weakest it's been in a long time, and should lead you to be able to put them in the driver's seat of being able to maintain and get that 1 seed in the AFC. But it just all goes to their give-a-rip factor. And it probably has lessened since they just went on the road and ran through the AFC and won a Super Bowl without having to play at Arrowhead, and the 1 seed did not matter. Hell, the 2 seed didn't matter. They were the 3 seed, and none of it mattered. They should clean the clock of the AFC West right now.
I think this is as weak as the division has been since Patrick Mahomes took over as the Chiefs starting quarterback. It's borderline unbelievable, because you look at the Chargers, they're taking their medicine this year, right? Mike Williams can't hurt the Chiefs anymore as he's no longer with the Chargers. They don't have Keenan Allen over there. They're going to run the football 50 times a game with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and some gentleman by the name of Kamani Vidal, their 6th-round running back rookie.
Good guy.
They have no wide receivers, dude. Their top 3 receivers on the roster right now are Quentin Johnston, who was awful last season, Josh Palmer, who has had like 3 relevant weeks in his career, and Ladd McConkey, who was their 2nd-round wide receiver rookie. I like Jim Harbaugh. I think he's going to get that thing going in the next couple of seasons. This is not that year. They're going to be really bad offensively potentially this season. And then you look at the Raiders and the Broncos, and they're worse, dude. The Raiders have a legit number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams, but their quarterback is Gardner Minshew right now. You look at the Broncos, they drafted Bo Nix, who the saving grace of the Denver Broncos right now is that the Atlanta Falcons took a bigger, more shocking quarterback in the top 10. Otherwise, Bo Nix would have been considered to be the biggest reach that we've seen at quarterback in recent seasons. And he's throwing to Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, and Cortland Sutton. Like, these offenses are not serious. It doesn't make any sense that this is what they're having to go up against over the course of a 17-game season in division. This is as lacking as the offensive rosters have been in the AFC West since Patrick Mahomes took over.
Well, he's got to beat out Zach Wilson first, so I don't want you to just give that job up. And the very talented Zach Wilson who shows up in and out. No, the Chargers sort of are the only team that I just believe in Jim Harbaugh that much. I don't think they're going to push the Chiefs. I do believe in Jim Harbaugh that much that I think if you were to tell me gun to my head, heart or scrotum, the places I don't want to get shot. If you were to tell me who I thought out of the West outside of the Chiefs had a chance to make the playoffs, the Chargers would be the team I would pick. Their 4th place schedule, they still they
have a quarterback. That's the difference. They have an actual quarterback
that could make, like Josh Palmer. You talk about Josh Palmer. I don't know if 2 of them relevant games against the Chiefs, because Josh has had. I remember it was a Thursday night game, week 2. He had a really good game against the Chiefs. So their quarterback and a smarter coach can make even lesser talent look better, and they'll control it. I don't think they'll touch the Chiefs this year. Like you said, BK, down the line. That's the only thing. But the Raiders and the Broncos. I mean, this, if they give a rip, like if they care, and I think that's a big thing, and that's going to be something I think we talk about throughout the year. There is no team, maybe in sports right now, that is just completely judged and doesn't really care about anything until the postseason than the Chiefs. But they could run up a 15-2 type record. They could run up a big record if they want, if they came and cared to do it every week.
Yeah. I don't think they do. Like, I don't think they will.
They haven't in years.
I mean, I think overall, I agree. Like, if I had to pick one team in the AFC West that could be a sneaky, like, wild card team, it's the Chargers because of Herbert, because I think Harbaugh is going to have just a better infrastructure around him, coaching staff, though I still have questions about him just bringing Greg Roman in and running this like ball control style of offense when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert. But they at least have tackles now. Like, they at least have an offensive line in front of him that might be able to protect him for once in his career. And their defense, I don't think is going to be anything special, but you mentioned the last place schedule. And that's, I think that's big for these teams that go from last place to the postseason and sneak in a wild card position or something like that.
BK, Serda, I know you'll probably dismiss this immediately. Are we just not giving? Should we be giving a little bit more belief or credit in Sean Payton?
No. I think Sean Payton. I think he used to be good, and I still think he does some things offensively that are good. I think Sean Payton is like,
because they took a step forward last year.
Yeah, but I think that he's so stuck in his mind that he's like, I can turn any quarterback into anything. I can make any offensive system work. And it's like, Yeah, but I just don't have faith that you can. And I also don't think that the Broncos' weapons are very good. Like, Cortland Sutton's probably the most talented offensive weapon they have. And I think in general, those guys have been overrated for several years now. Like, they don't have Judy anymore, who never really gave you anything. And then it's like Marvin Mims, and they drafted Troy Franklin. There's just nobody there that really makes you feel like, oh, we got to worry about that Broncos offense and Sean Payton calling plays. Like, I just don't think they're going to be good.
Their second leading returning receiver is Samaje Perine, and that tells me all I need to know about whether or not I should be taking the Broncos seriously heading into 2024. They have not done enough to improve this roster for me to feel like that's a team that has any shot of doing anything meaningful. The one thing that I will like, the reason why I think the Chiefs are going to take this season relatively seriously, Ron, is because of what they have out of division. Dude, they got like all of the tough opponents that they could possibly handle. AFC North is on their schedule. They got Houston this year. They're traveling to San Francisco. So, like, if there was a way for the NFL to artificially pump up their give-a-rip effort this season, it was based upon the teams that they're going to see on their schedule. It's like all of the teams that they have ripped their hearts out in the postseason in recent seasons, all of them are on the schedule this year.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
they lose the Bills every year in the regular season.
But I was going to say, that's normal. Like, that's been the normal thing. Like, they win the division every year, and they run. Yes, I'll give you the North. There's a little bit more.
Yeah, they've got Baltimore, they've got Cincinnati, they've got Cleveland, they've got Buffalo, they've got San Francisco. Like, this is a real schedule with what they've got out of the division this year.
But I mean,
Houston,
yeah, I mean, it's every. I mean, it's. But I mean, for the
every
Chiefs,
contender in the AFC and the best contender in the NFC this year. That's what they have on the schedule.
Yeah. I mean, it's every year. Like, I mean, we rolled through last year's. It's every. Remember, we thought Jacksonville was real. I mean, it's every year. Outside of it, usually the division is tougher.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, these
That's
are
fair.
Like, I mean,
and there's also games, late season games against the 3-win Patriots where they just don't even feel like showing up, and they'll win the game, but it'll be ugly as hell, and they'll win by like 3 points, and you'll be like, what the hell was that?
I think the other thing is, like, I think this team, and maybe I'm projecting, I think they really care about getting 3. This is something nobody's done, dude. Like, they have real potential to make NFL history here. And they're chasing a lot of it. Like, Andy's chasing the record for most wins in NFL history. And now that he's signed that long-term extension, it's possible. We'll talk about that another day. Mahomes is chasing ghosts with Tom Brady. And it seems at least plausible that he can catch him at this point. They've got a real chance here, dude. And I think that incentivizes them to have a little bit more success during the regular season as well.
Yeah, you're crazy. They won't really start giving a rip until January. That's what that means. Like, they're going to do just enough.
I think it matters, too, that they've added an influx of talent in the offense. Like, I think them throwing that's the saving new into the mix. Like, Marquise Brown, this is something he's never experienced before, dude. And I think that is a really big deal. Xavier Worthy, he's playing with a real quarterback now. His quarterback in college sucked. He was so bad.
That's Quinn. I mean, come on. He went so bad.
Quinn Ewers? He's
terrible. No, you guys are.
He's the second best quarterback on his own roster. I can't believe there's a legitimate first round buzz. It, like, everything about this year, 6 quarterbacks going top 12 made a lot of sense to me when I saw that he's a top 5 quarterback in next year's class.
He's not great and not going to be an NFL player, but he does suck. He's I don't really. I think the way you pushed that sucked.
I actually underemphasized how bad he is.
I think there could be if Mahomes and them want to, like, get back. Like, are hell bent on getting back on to an offense that scores a lot, that is an explosive offense. Maybe there is something there, and maybe the defense says we don't want to be a one-hit wonder, but there's something. I don't know, man. Ultimately, they're like, hey, man, we know what this is about. We don't want to blow our wad in October. Like, it seems like that's how they roll.
I think there's some truth to that, and we know that's how Andy rolls at a minimum. But I know this is a big thing for Bill Simmons and the NBA, Ron, and I know you're a big NBA guy as well. Like, anytime you win a title as an NBA team, you got to add somebody new to the mix, that you're winning it for them. Like, this one's going to be because this guy was brought into the mix, and he hasn't been able to experience this just yet. And I think there's some real opportunity for that guy, for this team, to be Hollywood Brown. I think that's going to be a rallying cry for them this year.
All right, fellas. First one on Foolish Club Media. Showing BK ain't going nowhere. We're here. And I don't know when the next time we'll be back. But no, man. It's fun. Fun getting back in it. See if they get a three-peat. They get a three-peat, man. I'm going to do something crazy.
Ron's going to do the show in a singlet.
Crazy, man. Something illegal, I think. Yeah, something illegal. Yeah. Something illegal. All right, we are out.